Ladies and gentlemen, this next segment of the podcast is brought to you by the Heritage Foundation. For over 50 years, the Heritage Foundation has been America's outpost in Washington, fighting against the D.C. federal bureaucracy and working to secure a future that allows Americans to flourish. You see, for too long, conservative principles have been ignored by many of the very leaders claiming to fight for America. But the Heritage Foundation is proud to hold our leaders accountable and stand up for America's founding principles, paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Mark Levin here. Our number, 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Well, something just happened that kind of blew my socks off. Really? Kind of shocking. I hope you're well, America. I hope everybody's doing well, Mr. and Mrs. America, my brothers and sisters out there. But I want you to first hear President Trump several hours ago, today in the Oval Office. Cut 14, go.
We had some very good news last night. The Houthis have announced that they are not, or they've announced to us at least, that they don't want to fight anymore. They just don't want to fight. And we will honor that. And we will stop the bombings. And they have capitulated. But more importantly, we will take their word. They say they will not be blowing up ships anymore. And that's what the purpose of what we were doing. So that's just news. We just found out about that. So I think that's very, very positive. They were knocking out a lot of ships going, as you know, sailing beautifully down the various seas. It wasn't just a canal. It was a lot of other places. And I will accept their word, and we are going to stop the bombing of the Houthis, effective immediately.
So 2 days after the Houthis hit the Israeli airport, and 4 days before negotiations continue with Iran, the Houthis surrender. Seems kind of strange, doesn't it, Mr. Producer? But it gets worse. I'm sitting here, I'm shocked. Because this just broke, literally. Houthis, attacks on Israel to continue after ceasefire with the United States. Attacks on Israel to continue after ceasefire with the United States. The head of the Houthi Supreme Political Council, Mahdi al-Mashat, warned Israelis, remain in your shelters after agreeing to stop attacking international shipping. The Houthi-affiliated Al-Masra news station reported that al-Mashat warned Israelis to remain in their shelters. President Trump said today that the Houthi rebel group has communicated that it will stop attacking commercial shipping following the attacks by the U.S. and Israel in recent days, and the U.S. would cease its attacks on Houthi targets as well. But the Houthis have announced they don't want to fight anymore, according to the president. Now, Israel has struck Houthi targets in Yemen over the last 2 days in retaliation for a ballistic missile attack on Ben Gurion Airport on Sunday. And they basically blew the Yemeni airport to smithereens. Well, what does this mean? It can mean many things. Number one, the president didn't know at the time that the Houthis said they won't attack ships, but they'll continue to attack Israel. Does it mean the administration knew that excluded Israel and therefore cut Israel off and cut it loose? You know, we talk about nuclear weapons in Iran and the Houthis with ballistic missiles. And Israel's supposed to just sit there and take it. Take it from the anti-Semites in our own country on the left and on the radical kook right who sound more and more. Don't these people, this fifth column that we have, these fifth column isolation, don't they sound like Bernie Sanders? I was thinking about this today. Don't they sound like all the kooks on the left now? And I don't just mean in foreign policy, domestic policy. They don't believe in capitalism. They sound like socialists. They sound like big government protectionists. It's crazy. It's crazy. They have more in common, these people, with Bernie Sanders and AOC and people of that ilk than they do with me, than they do with any Reaganites, conservatives, constitutionalists. They look at the First Amendment and they think they're the ACLU. And they lie. But let me go on. So I'm unclear as I speak to you tonight. And remember, here we deal in facts and principle. I'm unclear to you tonight what's going on. The Houthis won't hit international shipping, but they're free to hit Israel. Free to hit Israel. 4 days before we go back Saturday to talk to our friends, the Iranians. Our friends, the Iranians. And remember, Qatar's doing God's work. Qatar's doing God's work. And we'll talk to the Iranians. And this guy Warner, this Senator Warner the other day, he says, the way we get peace here is to stop fighting Hamas and get the hostages out. The idiot's not even talking about Iran. The idiot isn't even talking about Iran. Well, let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. The Israelis have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear weapons. They've had nuclear weapons for over a quarter of a century. They have many nuclear weapons. Isn't it funny that nobody fears Israel using it? Isn't it funny that the Houthis don't fear Israel using a nuclear weapon? Or Iran fears Israel using a nuclear weapon? Or the UN fears Israel using a nuclear weapon? Or our State Department fears Israel using a nuclear weapon? Isn't that amazing? The fifth column isolationists in this country, they keep wanting to drag us into a war. They could end it tomorrow. They could end the whole damn thing tomorrow if they wanted to. Whether it's Iran, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, they could put an end to it tomorrow if they wanted to. But notice, nobody fears that they will. But we fear that the terrorists will, which is why they shouldn't get a bomb. Now, I don't know what the hell's going on, quite frankly, but I don't like it. I don't even comprehend it. I don't comprehend it. And it's going to take a little time, and not a lot, to figure out what's taking place here, in my view. I don't believe President Trump would cut and run from Israel. I don't believe he'd do that. We'll see. If the whispers, if the fifth column isolationists, and by the way, there will be an election in 2028, and I want to warn those fifth column isolationists, there's a lot of warning that we're going to be watching how you vote, they say, the podcasters. There is no way in hell that me or my audience, most of you, are going to vote for somebody who's an isolationist, a fifth column isolationist. That's not going to happen. Period. Over my dead body. That's not going to happen. We're not going to put this great nation at such risk because this small cabal of idiots, boneheads, morons, think they know how to run the world. They act like Marxists. They think the world begins today, and everything else that came before is wrong. Everybody else that came before was stupid. Everybody else that came before didn't know what they're doing. But they know what they're doing. Why? Well, one's 30 years old, one's well into his 50s, has had 50 different positions on the same thing. One's flip-flopped and flop-flip. Oh, yes, okay. They must be right. They sound like socialists. They do the class warfare crap like Marxists. They have a Bernie Sanders foreign policy. What is that? Is that the new Republican Party? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, we shall see how this plays out because it's a little confounding to me. And I suspect this stuff about the Houthis, and it did, as I'm looking at the timeline here, came later. All that said, I think the Israelis demonstrated to the Houthis that they really don't need anybody else. They took out their airport, Mr. Producer. Their airport does not function. Their main airport in Yemen is dead. It's dead. And for all those that say, I'm kind of helping Israel, Israel's helping us. They're fighting the enemy in the Middle East. Imagine if we had allies all over the world fighting our enemies. They're fighting our enemy in the Middle East, and their enemy in the Middle East, too, obviously. Obviously. Something about this doesn't smell right to me. We'll find out. We'll see. Something about this. And then I read here that that our government didn't inform the Israeli government of the ceasefire. How is that possible? I mean, when you have an ally, let's pretend the name of the ally is XYZ. How is that possible? You're in a military operation effectively together. I don't get it. Maybe that's why Marco Rubio won't come on this program. Did you know that, America? Open your microphone, Rich. How many years have we tried to get Marco Rubio on this program?
Oh, years. Nothing.
4 or 5 years?
Yep.
He'll go everywhere. He'll go on CNN. He'll go on Meet the Press. He'll go on MSNBC. He won't come on this program. Why?
A couple of weeks ago. Nothing.
We tried a couple of weeks ago. Zip. Did you even hear back from anybody?
No.
No. What, am I the enemy? Crazy. Am I supposed to support him for president in 2028? No way. It's just weird. I've got plenty of good questions to ask. Not offensive, not aggressively, just some basic questions. Very weird. Pete Hegseth will show up. Waltz used to show up. J.D. Vance has tried to come on. I was out of the country. I'd love to have him back. So far, have they gotten back to us, Rich? Not yet. But we may still pull that off. The Rubio, no. We're open to him here. Won't come on the Fox show. We're open to him there. Hell, we'll take him on airborne radar and sonograms. We'll do that. He's fairly ubiquitous. I've never understood Republicans that will go on CNN, MSNBC, on Meet the Press, on Deface the Nation, go on with Stephanopoulos, but won't come here. But they won't come here. What's that all about? I'll tell you what it's all about. Because we're principled, we're conservatives, we have some questions. I am not hostile to my guests. A couple times over 20-some years, yes, when it's broken out, but very rarely. We try to elicit answers. We want answers. But right now, this is kind of a muck to me, this whole Houthi thing, to try and sort it out. It's kind of a mess to me. I am thrilled They've said they're not going to hit any more ships. But then they immediately here, I'm just reading it right here in the news. Now, this came out much later after the president spoke, but somebody's going to have to clear this up. Because right now it's not clear at all. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the first 100-plus days of the Trump presidency has been astonishing, and the Heritage Foundation has been keeping track. Americans were sick and tired of the status quo in Washington, D.C., and that had led to a border crisis and an erosion of family life in America. They sent President Trump back to Washington with a mandate to restore American greatness. And the good news is that America's back. Now, if you want to see exactly how he did it, go to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. To get your free list of Trump's 100 wins in 100 days. The Heritage Foundation has been counting wins in the first 100 days since President Trump's new administration took office. And I'm sure you can name many of those wins, from taking steps to secure our border to cutting government waste. But the Heritage Foundation has a comprehensive list of the top 100 wins so far. So go to heritage.org/Levin and get your list. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. I just think the timing of all this is weird. You know, I have a sense for these things. All of a sudden, okay, we give up. 4 days before we meet with the Iranians again. And 2 days after they hit the Israeli airport. We give up, but, you know, we're still going to keep attacking Israel. Okay. We'll see how this plays out. So I give you a heads up on that. We've got other things to get into this tonight, a lot of other things to get into tonight. As a matter of fact, welcome to the program. The Democrats at hearings today are absolutely disgusting. There is no class left in the Democrat Party. None. I think it started before Pelosi, but she really was the progenitor of this in so many ways. With her attacks on Trump and the impeachments and all the rest, the door was thrown wide open. And so you have these malcontents and miscreants and reprobates. You have Islamists and Marxists, socialists, many people in that party who hate the country, just the way it is, while they wave around the Constitution and talk about democracy. They know, we know, you know, here, we've talked about it for over 20 years now, that this goal of using immigration to change the population, to change the demographics, to change the citizenry is a Democrat Party project to destroy the existing society and replace it with another, to destroying the existing citizenry and replace it with another. It's a massive power play. Massive. President Trump is pushing back as hard as he can. And I'm sick and tired of these candy-ass former federal prosecutors and others lecturing us about due process. We're well aware of due process. We don't oppose due process. They do, the Democrats. But there's due process and there's due process. Due process can be you're on a list, you're here illegally. What do you say? Yes, I am. You're out. In some administrative forums, that's enough. So when they throw around the phrase due process, what they really want to do is tie this whole thing down in federal courts and make it impossible to remove people. And I want to pursue this. We'll be right back. Folks, if you're like me, you've been closely watching President Trump's first 100 days, watching as he fulfills his campaign promises and the mandate he was given by the American people. And I'm happy to report that the Heritage Foundation identified 100 of President Trump's biggest wins for Americans in his first 100 days in office. Now, if you go to heritage.org/Levin today, that's heritage.org/Levin, you can get your free copy of the Heritage Foundation's list of Trump's 100 wins in 100 days. Everyone knows some of what he's done, from securing the border to protecting women and girls in sports. But you have to see the full list of what his administration has accomplished in only 100 days. It's truly astonishing. I've seen this list. You need to go see it too. Go to heritage.org/Levin, heritage.org/Levin. Get your free copy of 100 wins in 100 days. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation.
Mark Levin, America's passionately cerebral voice. Talk with that voice now. 877-381-3811.
I'm not a politician. I don't want anything from anybody, let alone the government. I seek no office. None. Zero. But, Mark, you were appointed by Donald Trump. I ask for nothing. Nothing. I do my own writing. The others don't. I do my own thinking. The others don't. This is who I am. This is what I've always been. I try and figure out, using my own noggin, what's right and what's wrong, what's good and what's evil, and how to ensure with you, all of us together, the survivability of this republic, despite the enemy within and the enemy without. I believe in loyalty, and I believe in alliances. People who share certain belief systems and values, working together, not only within our country, but outside our country. Otherwise, the enemy will destroy us. The enemy will unite with other enemies and destroy us if we do not unite with people of like mind and belief systems to fight them, or at least prepare to do so should we be attacked. I'm not an isolationist because the enemy's not an isolationist. I don't believe in appeasement because appeasement has resulted in the death of millions and millions of our fellow human beings. I give no inch to the Marxists who've killed 100 million people, no inch to the socialists who have destroyed economies, lifestyles, created impoverishment in one so-called democracy after another. I don't care who has a big voice, who has a small voice, who has a big podcast, who has a small podcast, who has a big radio show or a small radio show, whether they're on TV or not on TV. That is irrelevant. Tell me, who was on TV 30 years ago? You don't know. Who was on radio 60 years ago? Some of you know. Most people don't. Get my point? When people sound stupid, they're stupid. When people sound like they're nuts, they're nuts. They're not new. They're not inventing something. They're not developing new ideas. They're losers. That's what they are. You know, life becomes complicated, but life's principles are not. The Golden Rule, the 10 Commandments. Be decent to other people. Tell the truth. Don't lie to your audience. I'm not into this cult of personality stuff. What did Tucker say? Or Joe Rogan? Or this one or that one? If they say good things, good. If they say stupid things, then they're stupid. That's the way it is. And if they say anti-Semitic things, then they're poison. I love this country. I always have and I always will. And so do you. That's what I care about. My country and my family and my fellow citizens. It's that simple. I don't have any sugar daddies funding my program. I don't have any ideologues funding my program. I don't have any foreigners funding my program. I'm as clean as can be. Straight as can be with you. I hide nothing. Nothing. I don't have any weird relationships that would cause me to come on this program and lie to you. I can't say that for some of the others, that's for sure. That's for sure. I treat you like I treat my family and my friends. Because you are my family and friends as well. I don't have other people write my books and then slap my name on it and then do book signings and book events. I can't look you in the eye on the few book signings that I do, whether at the Reagan Library or Bookends or Barnes or wherever. I can't look you in the eye. When you stand in line, you pay your hard-earned money, we shake hands, I thank you for coming, and I'm selling you crap that I never wrote. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't promote products on this program that I don't believe in. I get a whole long list of them. Right, Mr. Producer? How many times do I say no? No, no, no. Other people, it doesn't matter. It could be hemorrhoid cream. It could be whatever it is. They'll say it. They'll push it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I'm not going to do it. You've got one life to live. Live it well. Live it so when that day comes and you're going to meet God. We're not perfect, but you knew you did the very best you could. That's how I think. What am I going to say to God when I meet him? You might think I'm simplistic. That's fine. That's what I do. You know, when you write a book, as an example, it's a very soulful experience. It's a soulful experience. You have to dig down deeply. You've got to think things through. You really have to give it your all, give it your best. Especially when you write books like I do. My wife always says, boy, you pick the tough subjects. This isn't a brag. This is a fact. I could retire tomorrow and not miss a beat. I don't need any more money. I'm not saying that to be rude or obnoxious. I'm saying that to convey to you that I do this because I want to do it. I don't need sugar daddies from overseas or anywhere else funding me. I want nothing to do with them. I don't want anybody funding me. We're in the market. We have advertisers and so forth and so on. That's how it works, the free market. I love the free market. It's real competition. Socialism isn't competition. Protectionism isn't competition, Mr. Hawley. Open capitalism. That's where people are freest. This is where people have opportunities. This is how poor people become non-poor. And I'll tell you one other thing. I don't like politicians. Certain politicians I like, don't get me wrong, as you well know. But as a rule, guilty until proven innocent. There's politicians I like. Some of them are on the program. You hear me praise them and thank them and so forth and so on because they're cut above. They're cut above. But as a general matter, I don't like them. I'll have some on here from time to time. I won't do a conga line of senators and congressmen just to fill time. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Journalism today is a lie. There is no real journalism today. There are pockets of journalism. the exception, but the rule is there is no real journalism today. That's why I wrote on freedom of the press. How do I know? They've told us. They've told us what motivates them. They told us how they go about doing their business. You see who these corporations hire. It's an ideology of one kind, not another. You see NPR and PBS. It's outrageous. And I think I speak for millions and millions and millions of you in these views. Or I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here. And you wouldn't be there. You know, AM radio, our wonderful AM affiliates, they're struggling. They're fighting like hell to hold on. And I want to do everything I can to help them. We need radio, AM and FM radio. We need it. We excel at it. And we also should embrace the new technologies, podcasting, satellite radio, streamlining, and so forth and so on. And we do on this program. We're on every one of those platforms. But AM radio and FM radio, look, there's only so many people who can do this well. There's only so many people who are syndicated and have real audiences, serious audiences. It's the marketplace. It's capitalism. And what I mean by do it well is treat you, the audience, with the respect that you deserve. The respect that you deserve. When I get upset on this program, or I'm passionate on this program, or angry on this program, that's me. It's not an act. I can go from being cerebral in 1 minute, from being very passionate in the next. This is my life. This is who I am. And many of you are the same way, whether it's at the dinner table, the breakfast table, stuck in traffic, or whatever it is. Open your damn mail every day. There's always some crap in there, some bill you're not expecting. And I don't even like looking at my mail anymore. Do you, Mr. Producer? There's always something in there. I don't know what it is. But that's who we are. I've always said there's a difference between philosophy and ideology. Philosophy is a thoughtful reasoning process. You come to a philosophical point of view and you may change it or adjust it. But ideology is not. Ideology is what the Islamo-Nazis are. Ideology is what the fifth column isolationists are. Forever wars. Everything's a forever war. Even when the war's not even begun, it's a forever war. You're not ideologues. You may have a belief system, a value system, philosophies, but you're not ideologues. There's a difference. I'm not an ideologue. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a phony. I write my books. I'm not a phony. I write my monologues. I'm not a phony. I do my own research. So I cannot stand people who try to pull the wool over your eyes, whether they're in TV or radio or politics. I can't stand it. And yet I see it, even amongst our own. I see it. I'm speaking from the heart here. I see it. And I always have to make a decision. Do I really want to cross the line and start calling these people out or not? So from time to time, I do. A lot of these politicians, they have PR people, communications directors, a lot of people in the bureaucracy, or even cabinet officials and so forth. Same thing. Where should they appear? How should they present themselves? They go in with their 5 or 6 talking points. I can't stand it. I prepare my own show, and sometimes I start this microphone, I go, and I drop everything I was thinking about because I'm thinking about something else that I think is more important because something just happened or something crosses my mind and I want to convey it to you. I hope this helps you better understand why I said the things I said in the first half hour of this program and in yesterday's program about these conniving, grifter, fifth column isolationists, about some of these politicians, not all. Some are very earnest and have given up a lot of an alternative life that they could have led and done very well. So I respect them, and I'm not including them. But the other ones, there's a lot of them. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Folks, the first 100-plus days of the Trump presidency has been astonishing, and the Heritage Foundation has been keeping track. Americans were sick and tired of the status quo in Washington, D.C., and that had led to a border crisis and an erosion of family life in America. They sent President Trump back to Washington with a mandate to restore American greatness. And the good news is that America's back. Now, if you want to see exactly how he did it, go to heritage.org/Levin. That's heritage.org/Levin. To get your free list of Trump's 100 wins in 100 days. The Heritage Foundation has been counting wins in the first 100 days since President Trump's new administration took office. And I'm sure you can name many of those wins, from taking steps to secure our border to cutting government waste. But the Heritage Foundation has a comprehensive list of the top 100 wins so far. So go to heritage.org/Levin and get your list. That's heritage.org/Levin. Paid for by the Heritage Foundation. By the way, there are some smart people that write their own books. There's just not many of them. There's a handful of us. Got Shapiro, he writes his own books. Josh Hammer, he writes his own books. There's a handful of us. The vast majority do not. And there are others who do too. I just can't remember everybody off the top of my head. It's more than that. It's just I just can't deal with the facades. It's just too much. All right, let's get down to work here. How much time do I have, Rich? Well, when we return, let me put it this way. Here's Kristi Noem trying to do the right thing, trying to enforce federal immigration law, which hasn't been enforced, trying to get murderers and rapists and pedophiles and the worst of the world's sleazebags out of this country. And all they do is attack the woman, attack her over and over again. Politicians, Democrat politicians, they didn't give a damn about all the women sold into sex slavery while they were in power. They don't give a damn about the 325,000 missing unaccompanied minors, all the fentanyl, all the drug cartels pouring into our country, the terrorists and all the rest. You tell me these people love our country? They hate our country, which is why I despise them. But you're going to want to hear some of this. We'll be right back. This segment of the podcast is exclusively sponsored by Pure Talk. Pure Talk offers great coverage and can save your family money on your wireless bill every single month. Go to puretalk.com to find the plan that's right for you. Thank you again for listening, and thank you so much for this sponsorship, Pure Talk.
He's here. He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Welcome back, America, if anybody's left. I am Mark Levin. Our number is 877-381-3811, 877-381-3811. Big announcement Monday. But I have to wait till Monday. But I think it's a big announcement. I think you're going to love this. So, big announcement Monday. Okay. So as I was saying at the end of the last hour, Kristi Noem, who's just trying to do her job and do it well, and she is. She's doing a fantastic job over there at at DHS. And she's at this hearing today in the House, and somebody by the name of Veronica Escobar, who's a radical left-wing nutjob. Aren't they all, really? Now they're trying to take out Fetterman. Did you see that, Mr. Producer? They're smearing Fetterman. Is he unhealthy? What about his marriage? This is on the left, the Democrats. They're trying to take out Fetterman because they believe in purifying their party. There's obviously too many moderates in that party in the Congress. There's none. Except him, maybe one or two others. That's it. So here she is, and you'll hear this Escobar. Cut one, go.
One of those forms is ICE Form 71-078, or the caregiver designation at arrest form, where any of the individuals who were deported, who had U.S. citizen children deported with them, were they given an opportunity to sign that form?
When these, the specific cases that you're referencing with these children, it was the parents' choice to take their children
and did ICE
which it is
follow through on the policy
to keep families together?
Ma'am,
that is what we have.
So stop. See, they don't want her to finish. They don't want her to present the case that it is the position of the Trump administration to keep families together, because they've been running and screaming like the morons that they are, that Trump is breaking up families. And she's trying to make the point in response to that, and she barely can get a sentence out, that no, they're not. They believe in keeping the families together, and in that case that they're talking about, the parents decided to take their children. And so she jumps her. Go ahead.
I told you at the top of this, ma'am, reclaiming my time. I said that the questions are really simple. Yes or no.
No, but all questions are not yes or no, are they? Particularly when they're setup questions. Now, we've seen the pretend lawyers on pretend TV shows. I said yes or no. I said yes or no. You're not required to answer anything that way. Your testimony's under oath. Her testimony's under oath, and she's trying to give an answer. But she's not allowed to give her answer. Go ahead.
Is that form used in any of those cases?
I will get back to you on that specific form.
Perfect.
I don't know the number, but I do know these mothers went on the record.
The second form, ma'am, reclaiming my time. Ma'am, please, ma'am, reclaiming my time. I'd like you to avoid the filibuster so I can get to all my questions, please.
Answering your questions.
That's right, filibuster. Then there's somebody named Lauren Underwood, Democrat, Illinois. Imagine that, a Democrat out of Illinois. Same damn thing. Cut two, go.
Do you believe that the Constitution grants everyone in our country the right to due process, including non-citizens?
Let's stop. Actually, it does not grant everyone in our country due process, you moron. The Supreme Court ruled in a case of a person who came into the United States and came in illegally and was 25 yards from the border, that person could be deported on the spot. It's a Supreme Court decision that they have no quote-unquote due process rights. But I did an entire show on this. What's meant by due process? Well, the Supreme Court's not even clear what's meant by due process. Whether it's administrative due process in the executive branch or the full-blown due process, they've made some decisions about that, but there's a whole panoply of other situations of which they have not addressed. So to just throw that out, do you believe that everyone has a right to due process? But let me tell you the sleazeball activity that's going on here. The reason they're doing that is because they want every illegal alien to have full-blown due process as if they're an American citizen. That's not what the Constitution says, but that's what they want. Why? Because it is impossible to give 21 million illegal aliens full-blown due process. There's not enough courts. There's not enough administrative judges. And by the way, I would argue if that's what you're giving full-blown due process, it has to be under Article 3 judges, not administrative immigration judges in the executive branch. So that's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. bring everybody in here illegally, open borders in violation of our immigration laws by the hundreds of thousands, by the millions, and then keep them here by arguing due process. You got it? That's the plan. And it's unfolding right in front of your eyes. And if they succeed, the country's dead. The country's over. It's all about the Democrats and one-party rule. They're power hungry. That's it. They're power hungry. That's it. Yes or no? Answer my question. Yes or no? I'll answer your question. Shut the hell up. Go ahead.
The administration has the authority to...
Ma'am, I'm looking for a yes or no question. Yes or no? Do you believe the concept... Yes, ma'am. Do you...
We have not conducted...
Reclaiming my time, Mr. Chairman.
Time is yours.
Okay. Secretary Noem, I'm just looking for a yes or no here. Do you believe the Constitution guarantees due process to everyone in America?
No. Of course it doesn't. I mean, did Donald Trump get due process in Manhattan in a courtroom? No. I suppose that's what I would have said, being the provocateur that I am, Mr. Producer. I would have said no. Apparently, you didn't give Donald Trump due process, did you? Wouldn't that have been a good answer, Rich? She would have spit out her water right there. Go ahead.
Due process is exactly what this Congress lays out.
Yes or no?
It is,
okay, ma'am, I'll take that as a no.
On due process
excuse me, I'm trying to ascertain your understanding of the law as it applies to your
department. I'm trying to ascertain you. And so my question also to you would be, what do you mean by due process? What do you mean by due process? There are different types of due processes. What do you mean? So your question is ambiguous. What are you asking me? An American citizen? Yes, full due process. An illegal alien who just comes across the border and we spot the person and we're removing them right on the spot? What do you mean by due process in that case? What did the Supreme Court say, Congresswoman, about that case? Anyway, go ahead.
As its leader, should be able to give us a yes or no answer because judge after judge has ruled that the law is not being followed.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's the way it is, judge after judge. I wonder if she was so much in love with judges, if she ever read about the Dred Scott case. Judge after judge. What about those judges? Were they okay? Or how about the Plessy versus Ferguson justices? Were they okay too? Plessy versus Ferguson? Justice after justice has ruled. Separation. Separate but equal is equal. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. And what if Clarence Thomas writes an opinion? Is that legitimate? Or Sam Alito, is that legitimate? Of course not. No. Our judges is what she means to say. Go ahead.
That the U.S. government has the authority to deport American citizens.
No, and we are not deporting U.S. citizens.
I'm so happy to hear that you do not believe.
Oh, you're happy to hear, are you? Pushing your BS? Nobody's deporting American citizens. Can you name one? Certainly not intentionally. Can you name one? Name one. Now, there are mistakes, but she's talking about a policy, right? Go ahead.
Authority because the federal government has no authority under U.S. laws to deport any American citizen.
She knows that, you idiot. She answered your question, but you see, you're a dimwit. Your staffers wrote you questions, and you're going to keep pursuing them even though it was answered. First you say yes or no, and she answers no. Well, but she won't take no for an answer. Which one is this? Which dimwit? Oh, Lauren Underwood of Illinois, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe she'll want to run for president with AOC. Maybe be the running mate. We're going to take a break because then I want to go back to Lawrence Tribe, who fake Jake Tapper seems to think is a constitutional genius, when in fact it's obvious that he's experiencing his Biden years. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans. I don't kill time. I use time the way I want to use it. We don't believe in killing time here. Can't be all the time, can you? It's not normal, is it? Think about it. Is it normal to talk 3 hours straight, Mr. Producer? Unless you're a Democrat politician like the ones we've heard. No, it's not. So you have little breaks here and there, little music here and there. Lawrence Tribe is a feeble old man, which is exactly why Jake Tapper, who's a feeble middle-aged man, brings him on. What he'll say is predictable, and in my view, has really nothing to do with the Constitution or the rule of law. He is a predictable hack, mouthpiece, becoming an ignoramus, by the way. So let's see how this one works about due process. Because we all know Lawrence Tribe was screaming at the top of his lungs for due process for Donald Trump. Was he? And of course, Jake Tapper was concerned about due process for Donald Trump in that Manhattan courtroom, which was the most disgusting star chamber really I ever witnessed. Absolute star chamber. Cut 3, go.
And you mentioned White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, who's obviously very influential. He put out a definition of due process on Twitter or X this morning. He said, quote, "The right of due process is to protect citizens from their government, not to protect foreign trespassers from removal. Due process guarantees the right of a criminal defendant facing prosecution, not an illegal alien facing deportation," unquote. Your response?
My response is that he doesn't know what he's talking about. Due process as...
All right, let's stop for a minute. Early on in our history, Stephen Miller is 100% correct. We didn't have due process proceedings for illegal immigrants. We absolutely did not. But you see, Lawrence Tribe doesn't know that because he's an ideologue. Now, over time, there's grown different forms of due process. Some of it was just created by the bureaucracy. Not by Congress, not by the president. It was just created by the bureaucracy. But Stephen Miller, at least from the original position of our country, is correct. Now that's taken on a life of its own in terms of this various due process, which is why, again, I did an entire show, and I've talked about this here thoroughly, comprehensively. What do they mean by due process, and who gets what kind of due process? So now it becomes a policy issue more than a constitutional issue, right? And guess who gets to decide? The Supreme Court. Well, where is that written? Absolutely nowhere. So the whole thing is perverse. Perverse. But the Democrats will defend a wife beater. The Democrats will defend a human trafficker. The Democrats will defend an MS-13 member, because it's just like they defend fraud and bloat and abuse to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars in our government. They are not going to chip away at what they want or what they've created. They want total one-party control of a centralized governmental system, the exact opposite of what your Constitution provides for, while they're talking about them being the constitutionalists, except when they're not. Got it? Go ahead.
protects all persons in the country, aliens, citizens, all persons. And if you say, well, it doesn't protect the people that the president thinks are violent criminals or illegals or whatever he wants to call them, that begs the question, who determines whether somebody is deportable?
No, it doesn't beg the question. They have long lists of people who are deportable, who are here illegally. Long lists. Lawrence, Larry. So what do you mean it begs the question? It doesn't beg any question. We know who the people are that Biden brought into this country illegally, 530,000 of them. We have lists of them. They're here illegally. Who determines? They're on the list. Any moron can read the list. But they have a right to due process. Now, let me tell you what they mean by that. They know that however they define due process, that person will be deported. So they're not really interested in due process. They're interested in gumming up the works. Do you understand what I'm saying? They know that those 530,000 people shouldn't be here because Biden violated the law, immigration laws, the parole process. And the following president, Donald Trump, has every right to remove them. So they yell due process. So they know even if there was any kind of due process, they'd be removed. But they don't care. The point is to gum up the works, to clog up the works. And the best people with which to clog up the works are the criminals. Because they get more due process, broader due process. They get federal courts. We're not going to let 200 and some Venezuelan gang members, almost all of whom are criminals, and there's more evidence here. We have intelligence information. In reports today and yesterday, our intelligence agency said that Maduro, the Marxist mass murderer in Venezuela, did in fact send them here purposely. And so that really gums up the works, you see. The courts are busy with these terrorists, these gang members and these criminals and so forth. The whole point is to bring down the system, to ensure that these people never leave, to slow the wheels of real justice. Then they have children, and the court will probably uphold birthright citizenship, even though it is clearly not in the Constitution. And then it's off to the races. Then you have chain migration. Birthright citizenship, 21 million illegals, they have children. Each one, let's say each family, let's say there's 5, millions of children. They get older. Tens of millions of people brought in, family members. We're talking about 150, 180 million people. It's over because we don't assimilate. Our institutions have been taken over by the Marxist mobs. They hate the country, and that's that. And that's what they're fighting for. I'll be right back. Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you've paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans.
Mark Levin, the thunder on the right. Call in now, 877-381-3811.
There's this guy, Elie Mystal, who writes for The Nation. The Nation, of course, is a longtime Marxist socialist rag, as far as I'm concerned. It's been anti-American from its earliest, and it remains such, particularly with a clown like this. He's written some very, very disturbing and really barely literate books, in my humble opinion. But he shows up like a bad rash from time to time on MSLSD and some of the other places. Well, apparently he has a podcast, or he's on a podcast, and he had something absolutely brilliant and profound to say. Cut 4, go.
Why do I care what their status was when they committed the crime? If you can prove they committed a crime, I say in the book.
Let me help you out, pal. Let me help you out, and you need a lot of help. If they weren't here, they wouldn't have committed the crime in the first place. Don't you get it, moron? What do you care? Go ahead.
If I get murdered by an undocumented immigrant, please tell my children I did not care that they were undocumented.
Shut up, you moron. You big bag of wind, you bloated fool. Okay, I'll tell your children now. If he gets killed, he doesn't care if it's an undocumented immigrant or not. Okay, great. Said, done. Case closed. I have a different view for my children. I want to protect them from criminals. Imported criminals. Imported from Venezuela, from El Salvador. Imported from the Middle East and the rest of the world. I want to protect them from Islamists and other American haters who cross the border. I want to protect them from Chinese communist spies. That's right. Young men, old enough to be soldiers, coming into this country by the tens of thousands. I want to protect the women on the border, including the immigrants, from sex slavery and the children who go missing, you moron. And I'll tell your children right now that you don't give a damn about any of it. Do you? Do you schmuck? No, you don't. There, I said it, and I meant it. Tell my children to... Shut up, you bag of wind. Nobody gives a damn. Whew. Imagine this, Mr. Producer. You got Lawrence Tribe on CNN, this clown usually on MSNBC. Does it get any worse than this? No, it doesn't get any worse than this. Good job, Jake Tapper. This is why nobody watches your shows. Tell them the truth. You don't even have an audience. You're talking to yourself. They might as well put a mirror on the other side of your microphone. And then this slob with The Nation, Elie Mystal. He says so many stupid things, it's not even funny. Why should we, he says on The View, to the Yentas on The View, why should we honor any law that was passed prior to 1965? And they're running around arguing due process, which is in the Constitution. By my last check was actually adopted, the Bill of Rights, and then later the 14th Amendment, prior to 1965, you dumb bastard. Right. This is why they won't come on the show. Don't you think, Mr. Producer? Probably. They'd get the usual question. Really? Is that what you think? Yes, I think that's right. Wow. Next question. Speaker Mike Johnson, a good man. He's at a press conference today, and of course the media have as their goal to protect these rogue judges. Just as they want to destroy Clarence Thomas, destroy Sam Alito, destroy their wives. Oh, yeah. Just as they wanted to destroy Kavanaugh, destroy his family. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Bob Bork, a whole host of others. In this case, they don't even know who these rogue, left-wing, slip-and-fall, ambulance-chasing lawyers are in black robes, but they're going to defend them. They're going to defend them anyway, because they're on the same team, baby. They're on team crazy ass. That's right. And they know that they're thwarting Trump. So, man, we're all in, baby. It doesn't matter. Separation of powers, national injunctions, none of it matters. None of it. So Speaker Johnson has to deal with this. Judicial impeachments. Now, you know why I'm against judicial impeachments? Because they don't work. Hello. Unless somebody's committed a crime, there have been like 16 or 19 judges or something like that have been impeached, several removed, because, you know, they were like taking money or selling drugs. God knows. But for other reasons, this never happened. And Jefferson tried to get rid of Chase, who was on the Supreme Court, and it failed. And so it really hasn't been tried since. The way you get rid of a federal judge is to get rid of a federal judge. What do you mean by that? You defund them. You know what that means, leftists, don't you? Yes, defund the cops, but I don't mean defund them, just slash their budget. I don't mean just get rid of their immunity. You understand what it means, folks. You abolish that courtroom. There's nothing unconstitutional about that. Now, you have the filibuster you'd have to worry about. You'd have to worry about people like Tom Tillis there in the Senate, a rhino from North Carolina. You'd have to worry about Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, whose daddy handed her the job. She fought very hard. Women's rights. Daddy, can I be a senator? Yes, darling, I'll take care of you. Oh. That's right. I said it, and I meant it. So you got to get around that. And you get around it by applying it to reconciliation, a spending bill. But what if the parliamentarian says that? Then roll the parliamentarian. Who cares about the parliamentarian? You're talking about saving the republic, separation of powers. The parliamentarian says, oh, okay, we play by the rules, and the other team, they're all over the place. We're Marcus of Queensberry. What's that, Mark? Google it. Here we go. Cut 5. Go.
Are judicial impeachments off the table for the rest of this Congress?
No, look, impeachments are never off the table if it's merited. But in our system, we've had 15 federal judges impeached in the entire history of the country. I mean, there may be some that I feel merit that, but you got to get the votes for it, right? And it's a very high burden, and frankly, the bar is high crimes and misdemeanors. I mean, the last federal judge that was impeached, I think, it was caught taking cash in an envelope. It's like it's got to be a pretty brazen offense, a real open crime.
By the way, one of them who was doing that was elected to the House of Representatives afterwards, as a Democrat, of course, from Florida. Go ahead.
Votes, and by the way, even if we could get an impeachment article through the House on a federal judge, it's unlikely that they would be tried and convicted in the Senate on that with the divided number we have. So. Short of that, what can we do? I mean, we've done everything within our power to solve that problem. And remember the stats. I think it's 67% of all national injunctions issued against a president in the last 100 years were against one president. His name's Donald J. Trump. 90% of those were from openly, Democrat-appointed judges that many would regard as this other judge as activists or people venue shop to get in their courts. So we all know it's a real problem. It's not what the Founding Fathers intended.
And he's right about all that. And I would take it a step further. Remove one. Pick one. This guy, Boasberg, I guess. He's retained jurisdiction in a case where the Supreme Court took it away from him. Ooh, have you noticed the media never talk about this clown, this unhinged clown? They never even tell you that, do they? No, they don't. He's way out of his league. And he's a hack. Isn't it possible, put aside my views, isn't it possible that from time to time there's a mistake, that one of these people lied to get on the court and then they turn out to be an abomination? Well, of course. But they're serving for life, so how do you remove them? By removing them. He's 100% right about impeachment. That's a dead end. Stop talking about impeachment. It sounds cool. It won't work. It doesn't get us where we need to go. It is a waste of time. Even the process when it comes to a federal judge is a waste of time. Not a waste of time is defunding the judge, defunding his courtroom, getting it on a spending bill that goes through the reconciliation process, and get rid of them. You must be Hitler. I can never get this straight, Mr. B. Am I Hitler or am I a neocon? Am I Hitler or am I Israel first? Which is it? Which is it? I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless that comes with a lot of fine print, like requiring you to sign up for 4 lines plus activation fees, plus. And the end of the day, you paid for that free phone 3 times over. Pure Talk is my sponsor, my wireless company. They have a much better offer. With a qualifying plan of just $35 a month, you can get a brand new Samsung Galaxy A26 for free. Now, this phone is virtually indestructible. Gorilla Glass captures beautiful wide-angle photos with next-generation camera lenses. All you need to do is switch to Pure Talk. For just $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, text, 15 gigs of data, more than you'll ever need, with mobile hotspot, all on one of America's most dependable 5G networks. Go to puretalk.com/Levin to make the switch. Again, that's puretalk.com/LEVIN to claim your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan when you switch to Pure Talk. Wireless by Americans for Americans. So we've learned so far this hour that Stephen Miller understands the Constitution and due process better than the Biden-like Lawrence Tribe, and he understands it better, does Stephen Miller, than, of course, Jake Tapper. I understand Jake Tapper has a book coming out. He's still going to put out that book about how effectively there was a cover-up of Biden's mental condition. He feels that enough time will go by that you folks are going to forget that he's one of the people who covered it up. Will somebody please tell me why CNN even exists anymore? Will somebody tell me why Marco Rubio and others even go on CNN? I'd like them to explain this to me. They have no viewers. No, we have 14.5 million listeners here, patriots who love our country. So why would you go on CNN? I'm just curious. Just curious. I don't know. Very weird, don't you think, Rich? Very weird. Okay. When we come back, very, very big show. I want you to stick with us. This Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, I do not like the way he treated Elon Musk. But I love the way he treats Democrats. Very, very tough. Very, very tough. Very impressive in this regard. You're going to want to hear this. We'll be right back.
He's here. Now, broadcasting from the underground command post, deep in the bowels of a hidden bunker, somewhere under the brick and steel of a nondescript building, we've once again made contact with our leader, Mark Levin.
Hello, America. Mark Levin here. Our number is 877-381-3811. We'll take calls at the bottom of the hour. 877-381-3811. Oh, look at this. The New York Post. Okay. I hate it when all these ads... Don't you hate it when all the ads interfere with the article? It's just crazy. It makes you want to not buy whatever they're promoting. Anyway, protests erupt in China after furious workers demand back pay as Trump's tariffs on imports jolt the economy. Exactly what Trump said. Anthony Blair writing, protests from furious factory workers in China demanding back pay are spreading across the country after President Trump's tariffs on Chinese imports began impacting the communist nation's economy. Keep it up, Mr. President. Unrest has been reported across the country as workers have taken to the streets, protesting unpaid wages and challenging unfair dismissals, following the closures of factories squeezed by U.S. tariffs, according to Radio Free Asia. Chinese industry leaders, meanwhile, are extremely anxious about the steep duties, with many telling factories and suppliers to halt or delay supplies. Wang Yin, head of an industry group representing more than 2,000 Chinese merchants, told the Financial Times, a lot of these people are going to be facing the guillotine, you know. Can't cross the great Xi. You know, if this guy Xi weren't the ruthless Secretary General of the Communist Party and the head genocidal monster in that country, what would he do? The guy looks like a schmuck. At least 16 million jobs across many industries in China are at risk due to President Trump's imposing of a 145% tariff on Chinese imports, according to analysis from Goldman Sachs. I think this is fantastic. It's not easy at the moment, a 26-year-old toy factory worker told the Financial Times. His employer in the Chinese city of Zhejiang mostly sells to the U.S., and management recently forced workers to take 2 weeks off unpaid in the face of tariffs. Wait a minute. Economic socialism doesn't work? Last month, construction workers threatened to throw themselves off the buildings they were working on unless they received their unpaid wages in northeastern city of Tanzlio. Radio Free Asia reported. Now, I'm not laughing at them. I'm just, is that a threat? I'm going to throw myself off the roof, okay. Elsewhere, a sporting goods factory in southern Hunan province also shut without warning last month, offering no compensation or Social Security benefits, leading hundreds of workers to go on strike, the outlet said. Sounds like a Biden economy. Protests in China have increased since the COVID pandemic, as the country's economy has struggled to bounce back. Beijing-based activist Xi Jinping, who was one of the student leaders during the 1989 Tiananmen Square protest, told Radio Free Asia. Chinese authorities have acknowledged that the tariffs are impacting the country's economy. In April, China's factory activity showed its steepest contraction in 16 months. Donald Trump could bring this country, that is China, to its knees the way Reagan did the Soviet Union. It's very important. Keep it up. Oh, now they have the Treasury Secretary over there negotiating. I wouldn't negotiate. I'd say, we'll see you in 3 months. We'll see you in 3 months. Experts have grown fearful about President Trump's aggressive tactics. The contraction in China's industrial output and the protests show the president may still have leverage, despite Beijing raising its own duties on imports of U.S. products to as high as 125%. At least as of now, I haven't felt them. Have you, Mr. Producer? Maybe at some point. Xi has also traveled to his neighboring countries in Southeast Asia as he looks to forge closer ties with Vietnam, Cambodia, and Malaysia. They've been blowing these fishing ships that belong to the Vietnamese out of the water as they try and steal their offshore areas, territory. Now we want to be friends. Similarly, China's foreign minister Wang Yi has reached out to his counterparts in the UK and the European Union. Maybe they should reach out to the fifth column isolationists in America. They'll love them. President Trump has insisted things were going fine with China, but it remains unclear whether any meeting between Trump and Xi will take place. Well, now let's go to cut 8. Well, let's not go there yet. Now let me go to a story here that Scott Bessent, he is your Treasury Secretary, that he is now opening discussions with his counterpart in Communist China. Again, I don't know why we should. I would slow walk it. They're in pain. That's good. I don't mean the people, the government. That's good. It's okay. Don't back off. That's my view. What do you mean, Mark? A warmonger? Again, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. He's a warmonger. No, I'm an America firster. Make America great again. That was Reagan's line when I worked in the Reagan administration. Make America great again. It was the 1984 campaign slogan. That's why it's Donald Trump's. And Donald Trump has Reagan's portrait in his office. He's a big admirer of Reagan. And I think Reagan would be a big admirer of Trump. I know Peggy Noonan may not agree with that, but who cares? She used to be a Dan Rather assistant and a Democrat. Oh, do tell. No, I'd rather not. I'd rather not. Let's see here, Mr. Producer. Israel attacks the main airport in Yemen's capital, Sana'a. They blew it to smithereens, only to learn that the United States has decided, without telling Israel, that the Houthis have surrendered. Sure they have. Oh, yes, they said, okay, we capitulate 4 days before Iran. I'm just concerned that this is the prelude to... Let's just make sure it's not. Let me put it differently. We'll keep an eye on this and make sure it's not what it could be. No bad deals. No fake deals. I'm just reiterating what President Trump said, and I support him strongly. And I support what he said strongly, unlike the fifth column isolationists. That's right. Daily Caller, top House committees sound alarm on suspected Chinese spy bases just 90 minutes off the U.S. coast. I wonder what the isolationists think we should do about that. Just wave? Should we wave to them, Mr. Hi over there. Hi. Hi. We're against forever wars. Hi. Hi. Two House committees called on the Department of Homeland Security on Tuesday to provide classified briefing addressing the threat of multiple suspected communist Chinese spy installations throughout Cuba, according to a letter exclusively obtained by the Daily Caller News Foundation. It's obviously our fault, America. It is. Our never wars. That's right. The Jews, the neocons, and Israel, they're dragging us into a confrontation with China. It's the way it is. That's the way it always is. The letter sent by the House Homeland Security Committee and House Select Committee to Kristi Noem requests a formal threat assessment from the department regarding at least four signals intelligence installations in Cuba. This is a big deal, folks. Very big deal. Spy installations. The suspected Chinese spy installation are as close as 90 miles off the U.S. coast, the letter warns, positioning them to intercept sensitive intelligence from Kennedy Space Center, Naval Submarine Base, Kings Bay, Cape Canaveral Space Force, and the Naval Station Guantanamo Bay, and I might add a sort of a naval substation at Key West. And the Guantanamo Bay Naval Station is 70 miles from Cuba. From one of the spy sites. It's in Cuba. The letter was signed by 5 Republican representatives. No doubt neocons. Warmongers. It's vital for Congress to have the necessary information to counter the growing threat of the communist Chinese intelligence operations. I'm telling you, folks, these people are on the move. This communist China, I understand that there's unrest in China and so forth and so on. But there's no real connection between the government and the people. They will spend more money on the military regardless of the consequences for the people. That's how these regimes are. And so I would suggest we keep the pressure on with these tariffs. The tariffs are doing what they're supposed to do. They're doing what the president said they would do with China. I'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
Oversight hearing today. Treasury Department. Here we have Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Now, you notice if Scott Bessent was a Democrat, they'd be telling you over and over again he's the first gay person to be Treasury Secretary. We heard that about Buttigieg over there at Transportation endlessly. Endlessly. Now, it doesn't matter. It's like Clarence Thomas, the second black person on the Supreme Court. No. Hate him. Attack him. But here's Scott Bessent with Steny Hoyer. Now, Steny Hoyer is an old man now. Steny Hoyer had been lieutenant governor of Maryland decades and decades ago. He wanted to be governor, no. Senator, no. So he decided he'd settle on the House, and he never left. For him, the House is a nursing home. I'm serious. Where else are they going to go? They're going to go home? Nobody's going to do anything? Take care of them? They got a whole staff. They got drivers, They want lunch. Somebody grabs them lunch. They're called... congressmen, and here they be called, you wet yourself. Look at you. Anyway, cut 8, go.
Let me ask you a broader question, Mr. Secretary, at the outset. The president has been talking about recession and the acceptance of a recession.
See, he's got that Biden thing going, doesn't he, Rich? He's got the whole Biden thing going there. Go ahead.
Do you believe we're in a recession now?
Congressman, I believe in data, and there is nothing in the data that shows that we are in a recession. As a matter of fact, the jobs report has surprised to the upside.
The job report, of course, less than the average for the Biden administration last in 2024. But the GDP went down this first quarter of the Trump administration. If we have a negative growth in the second quarter, which is, I suppose, the traditional definition of a recession, would you agree that we are in that recession of which the president speaks?
Congressman, these economic numbers are noisy and subject to substantial revision. So I, having looked at a detailed analysis, would believe that the first quarter GDP would be revised upward. And I would also, with regards to your remark about where we were last year we were spending 6.7%. We had a 6.7% fiscal deficit, the largest we've ever had during peacetime or non-recessionary times. So the easy thing would be to keep spending, to keep the economy running on an unsustainable path of government spending.
Guy's very sharp. He is. He's very sharp. There's a congressman by the name of Mark Pocan, P-O-K-A-N. Ever hear of him? No, of course not. He's a loser. But anyway, he's next in line. Cut 10, go.
My concern is on the tariffs. Who pays tariffs, Mr. Secretary? No. Answer the questions I asked, please. I only have 5 minutes. Who pays tariffs?
Sorry? Well,
who pays tariffs? Sorry, Mr. Secretary, please.
Excuse me.
The question is very simply, who pays tariffs, Mr. Chairman? I'd like him to answer that question.
Well,
he wants to answer other questions.
Well, Congressman, if the exporters, dislike tariffs so much, why wouldn't they? If I think what you're trying to get me to say.
Did you remember the question? I'm not sure you did. Who pays tariffs?
It's a very complicated question.
Reclaiming my time. People pay tariffs, right? Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time, Mr. Secretary. Reclaiming my time. You clearly aren't going to answer. I'm not going to waste my time having you go, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Chairman, I asked reclaiming my time.
Tariffs.
Mr. Chairman, and I asked to reclaim my time. Did I not? No, I said reclaiming my time because he's clearly not answering it.
What's it, like fourth grade there? Hey, reclaiming my time. No, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. I like that. Republicans should learn from that, don't you think? Yes, I think so. Then we have Governor Lujan Grisham, Democrat, New Mexico. Another loser. It used to be a great state, New Mexico. By the way, what's with the Gene Hackman thing? First of all, the death is the strangest thing in the world, he and his wife. Then he left nothing to his children. Did you read that, Rich? Why would you do that? Well, whatever. Here's Governor Lujan, CNN. Tariffs. But the Democrats used to love tariffs. They loved them. And I know what Trump's trying to do, and I hope he succeeds. That's why I'm not trashing the whole issue here. But Mark, you're for free markets. What he's trying to do is create a global market system. It doesn't really exist when other countries have 200% tariffs on our eggs or whatever, and we're not doing that. And he's saying, we've raised tariffs, we put them on everybody, now let's negotiate with everybody. You lower your tariffs, we lower ours. I get it. That's not protectionism. It may sound it. He may say things that sound like it, but he's trying to create a global market system, a real market system, which also happens to have a massive benefit of building up our industries. That's what market economics for us is all about. Here's Governor Lujan Grisham, though. Cut 11, go.
I am curious how President Trump's messaging, telling people, look, buy less, buy fewer dolls, it's not going to hurt you, less pencils, is going over with your residents.
These reporters make me sick to my stomach. Constipated News Network, MSLSD, make me sick to my stomach. They know exactly what's going on. You do, I do, but they got to play these games. Go ahead.
I don't think it goes over well with anyone's residents.
Wait a minute. It's a woman? Or is that a guy? Is the governor Transitioning? So Lujan is a woman's name? I thought it was a guy's name. Oh, it's Michelle Lujan Grisham. Well then, go ahead.
Brand new study says it's going to cost average families $7,400 additional dollars. And what about the people who work in retail?
No, it's not. Tariffs are not going to cost people additional $7,400. That's ridiculous. What about government spending? All for it. What about massive debt? All for it. What about inflation it causes? Oh, pretend it doesn't exist. What about choking our energy system and driving up the cost of energy? It doesn't matter. You know, Trump has a mission here. He's trying to create this worldwide global market system that doesn't exist right now, where the United States is actually treated with some respect, given our fact that we're the biggest economy. I'll be right back.
If you turn off your radio and open the window, you can probably hear him straight from the studio. Call Mark Levin at 877-381-3811.
And you want me to sit in my seat and stand idly by and allow this craziness to happen? You can come after me if you want, but you elected me to stand up. You elected me to use the law. You elected me to go to court. You elected me to continue to challenge this administration.
Shut up and sit down, you moron. You crook. They better start working on that XXL orange suit for the lady. No, actually, we don't believe in this anymore. Maybe she should be in the men's prison, don't you think, Mr. Producer? We can't define women. So, you know, what is what is. So I'd give her a XXL. Yes, they have to start working on it now. And send her to a men's prison. Can't call it a men's prison, but you understand what I mean. You know, live the good life. They caught her red-handed, cheating on her taxes, cheating on her mortgage. That's what you did. It's sick that her residence was in Virginia. Really? Well, maybe now it'll be in Rikers, Mr. Purdue. What do you got there in New York? Sing Sing? What's there? Rikers. I was right the first time. Rikers. You know, need a double wide cell, but nonetheless, there she is. Yes, okay. She'll be selling cigarettes for an extra cookie. Donald Trump made a definitive statement about Iran today, Mr. Producer. Let's play cut 20. Go.
This is really crunch time. I would tell you, for Iran and for their country, this is a very important time for Iran. This is the most important time in the history of Iran for Iran, and I hope they do what's right. I'd love to see a peace deal, a strong peace deal. They cannot have a nuclear weapon, but I would say that this is the single most important period in the history of Iran, which is a long history, and we want it to be a great country. Let it be a tremendously successful, rich country. They have everything you need. The people are incredible. They have vast amounts of oil and assets. We want it to be a successful country. We don't want to do anything that's going to get in the way of that, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. And if they choose to go a different route, it's going to be a very sad thing. And it's something we don't want to have to do, but we have no choice. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. Do you understand that? Okay.
There you go. That's about as clear as it gets. I wonder what the fifth column isolationists think about Trump now. They pretend to be speaking for MAGA. Margaret Taylor Greene, or whatever the hell her name is. What's her name again? Marjorie Taylor Greene. Oh, yeah, she speaks for everybody. We're all going to turn on Trump because he doesn't want the Iranians to get a nuclear weapon. And so I ask you, Mr. and Mrs. America, do you think the Iranians should have a nuclear warhead and the capacity to put it on an intercontinental ballistic missile and hit our country? Is that okay with you? I bet that's about a 90 against 10% for Iran having that. Yes. I bet the vast majority of Americans don't think Iran should have that kind of power. But what about Iraq? Oh, my God. The ignoramuses. By the way, did you see that India attacked, I think it was 10 or 12 locations in Pakistan? Uh-oh. Those are two nuclear nations, too, by the way. Now, truth is, Pakistan's been kind of provoking India, but India hit them. Now, this can get a little troubling, could get a little bit of painful. Let's go to Roy, Redmond, Oregon, the great KBND. Go right ahead, please. Would you double-check that, please? Go right ahead.
How do you do, sir?
I'm very well. How are you, my friend? Hello, wake up, speak to me. Go ahead.
I would say hi, Dr. Levin, but you've never got the degree for it. But
how do you know?
Russ would say.
How do you know?
Well, I don't know.
See that?
I don't know. But as Levin said, the EIB, you don't get a degree, but we all miss him.
Listen, thanks for your call. I appreciate it. That guy was at happy hour. I can tell that. Can't you, Mr. Producer? No offense. We like our listeners, whatever form, whatever. Let's see here. Who's next on our vaulted list here? Gary, Sandwich, Illinois. Now I'm hungry. Guys in Sandwich, Illinois. Now I want to get a sandwich. Go ahead.
All right. Have some bologna with it.
Yeah, I like, you know what? I'm going to tell you something about that. And by the way, the great WLS, where we do great, I like bologna sandwiches. It drives my wife nuts. What do you think of that?
Oh, my gosh, I love them, too.
Me too.
Put a lot of mayo on them.
Mayo, you ready for this? White bread, mayo, bologna. Now their heads are blowing up. I like it. I can't help it, Gary.
Friend.
What's that?
You got it, my friend.
There you go, baby. Go right ahead.
Well, you got a lot of stuff on your plate. I'll make this real quick. I'm involved with a mother-in-law's estate. That's nothing to do with it. But I still go over to the little town of Earlville to pick up her mail.
Yeah.
And ironically, when we were talking about that, she says, it's strange. There's only 2 ladies in that post office. She says, this is strange. Some guy just came in, wanted a 1099, something to do with Social Security, and he showed her his driver's license, which I believe was a Florida driver's license, and his picture didn't match at all. So I was just reporting that, and I think
all
that's
right,
another.
Listen, thank you very much. Obviously, he and the other guy. Party time, baby. I'm all for it. Party time. Now, I don't drink. My wife gets some wine. I'll take a sip. Maybe I'll have 2 sips of a light beer every 3 months. That's it. I don't drink. I don't like it that much. But I drink Diet Coke, which is, I'm told, I'll tell you something funny. The last time I interviewed Benjamin Netanyahu here in the United States, before the interview, they were saying, Mark, the Fox people, you want some water? What? I said, do you have a Diet Coke? They brought me a Diet Coke, and he said, Mark, it's got a lot of chemicals in there. It's not good for you. I said, I know, but I like it. No, we need you. You gotta live a long life. There's 2 countries depending on you, the United States and I said, I know I like it. He says, all right. Then you know what he does, Mr. I'll have one of those. But he looks good. He's lost a lot of weight. He had some heart issues. He had a procedure done and this, that, and the other, and he's looking good. He's fit, He's in good shape. Donald Trump's looking good and sounding good. This is all good. All good. All right, let's go to Danny, Houston, Texas, XM Satellite. Danny, speaker forever. Hold yourself.
Sir, it's an honor to talk to the biggest brain on the airwaves.
Oh, my goodness.
Here's
Thank
what
you.
I'm thinking.
Yes, sir.
There is a process. There's a process for applying for admission to the United States, right?
Yes.
So where were the Democrats screaming about due process when the Biden administration was just importing all these folks and spending your money and my money to put them on a plane from McAllen, Texas to wherever the heck in the U.S. they wanted to go?
Well, it's a great question, and I'll tell you why they do what they do. Due process doesn't apply when you're coming into the country. There is a process an administrative process, a legal process, but not constitutional due process. If it, quote unquote, your rights are going to be denied to you, then you have a right to due process, a legal process that is supposed to protect the individual from the government. And so you can see the perversity that's been taking place here. They know this. So they overwhelm the system, and now they're saying, not only does everybody get due process, but they get a kind of due process that we are incapable of instituting to 21 million people. So you'll have tens of millions of people who are illegal aliens who stay in the country because the process is overwhelmed, the Constitution's turned on its head, then they have children, then they have chain migration, then it's over. You got one party, Democrat Party. The Democrat Party rejects the citizenry of the United States, rejects the demographics of the United States, the culture of the United States. And so they're the enemy within. I wrote the whole book, The Democrat Party Hates America. I laid it out. And that's the way it runs. Good call, Danny. I appreciate it. Let's go to Jerry, El Paso, Texas. We love our station, El Paso, Texas. We just extended with them. They have a tremendous program director who we love. The great KTSM. Jerry, go.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Dr. Levin, Professor Levin, for taking my call. I have a constitutional question under the 11th Amendment.
Yes.
It states the judicial power of the United States shall not construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced or persecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state or by citizens or subjects of any foreign state. What is the meaning of the judicial power of the United States?
That amendment, which I never even think about much, was passed to overrule a Supreme Court decision, by the way. In that case, they said the states don't have sovereign immunity from suits made by citizens of other states in federal court. And so what they were saying there is that citizens do have the right to bring a suit in one state against another state.
Okay.
That's pretty much the gist of it. It's not really relevant here. They're talking about citizens of one state versus another, not foreigners.
Yeah, no, but it says foreigners in the back. Foreigners of citizens or subjects of foreign states.
But it doesn't. But by foreign states, they mean other states.
Other United States, a different state.
Right.
Okay. The way I read it was
because the states were fighting with each other.
Right.
And a state would ban a suit from another state. And so in the 11th Amendment, they said, no, you can't do that. So if somebody, which state are you in again? I'm sorry.
Texas.
So in Texas, if you want to bring a suit, let's say in Illinois, and the state of Illinois says, we're not going to recognize that suit because you're a citizen of Texas, the 11th Amendment says, oh, yes, you are.
Okay.
But you know what? You read the 11th Amendment to the I haven't looked at that in 20 years.
Yes, sir.
I'm proud of you.
The reason why I was asking that, because I thought it meant the other way, that I do not have, according to the Constitution, a right to sue Illinois, being that I'm not a citizen of Illinois. That's what I thought it meant.
Right. All right, brother. Thank you for your call. Which is pretty much what I'm saying, isn't it, Rich? If you're a citizen of Texas and you bring a state suit before the 11th Amendment in the state of Illinois, against the state of Illinois, as an example, against an entity within Illinois, prior to the 11th Amendment, the state could say, you have no standing, you can't bring the suit. After the 11th Amendment, it is, oh, yes, you can. And they passed the 11th Amendment to overrule a Supreme Court decision. I forget the name of the case, and so, this goes way back to law school. Okay? We'll be right back.
Mark Levin.
We shows go very fast, at least for me. Let us go to Bob, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Oh, hold on a second. Well, is Bob there or not? Well, then let's go to our man Ivan in Florida, because Ivan's the man. Ivan, Miramar Beach, Florida, on the Mark Levin app. Ivan used to be from, as I recall, Baltimore. Anyway, in Maryland. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mark. It's always a privilege and an honor to speak to the wisest man in our country right now. Hey, Mark, listen, I don't understand, why we don't play by the same ground rules that they set all the time. I just got a $1.99 brand new shiny lawyer's license from Walmart, Mark, and I want to try to. Judge Roberts called Obamacare a tax, and why can't the House get clever and use their ground rules and call illegal deportations a tax, and pass a bill through reconciliation that says that illegals may be deported upon apprehension. Because
Ivan, listen to me. Call again. Try and get through tomorrow. Just because I'm up against the wall, I apologize, but I want to hear from you. You're a good old friend. We salute our armed forces, police officers, firefighters, emergency personnel, our truckers, the men and women in Ukraine. I don't forget them. The men and women in Israel. We're not going to undermine you. The men and women in the United States, the greatest.